Hey everyone, I'm Tassinix, and welcome to Plotting and Scheming, covering season 60, 3 versus 3 Grand Arena Championship, week 2 for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I am joined by my regular co-hosts Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal. Gentlemen, it was an interesting week. I ended up going 2-1, had some incredibly poor luck in one round versus, Ray with the new Ezra. This was the debut week for new Ezra, Exile Ezra, and I'm sure we'll have a ton to talk about there. But, yeah, not bad. 2-1. How about you, Dagger? Tell us the riveting tale of your week.
CDs.
CDs, yes. Physical media sales. All right, very good. TJ, how about you?
Actually got to play this week, so 2-1. I might have probably scratched out a 3-0, but it just wasn't worth the effort. So I'll stick to my 2-1. Solid week and solid intel, in my opinion.
Dig it. Sasha, Aisha, how was your week?
Good. I had multiple real matches. I went 3-0. I had a really fun week. Yeah, so good, like mud wrestling with Aesop and with the Partek. So, yeah, really good.
All right, outstanding. And Fatal, how about your week?
3-0. Yeah, I full sent it on Ray Ezra investment, and I would almost say that my prediction ended up being a little bit conservative.
Performed better than expected, then.
I got 18 battles across 3 rounds.
Yeah,
I think I was
that's
right
severe.
there with you.
That is severe. All right, guys. Well, first segment here, meta-analysis. Obviously, we have to be talking about Ray Swolo Ezra, the defining defense of this week. Share your tales of horror and valor. I will go first. I used EP Mara Jade Starkiller in all 3 rounds. First round, barely skated by with a 50. It's like they came out of Ray's ult and killed everybody but Starkiller. I saved the ship, shipped it, killed Swolo, knocked down Ray with the 3rd, and then threw the barrel to finish off Ezra. It was crazy, but it got done. Second round, I got dodged and resisted to shit. Now, part of this is just bad RNG. The other part of it is specifically TJ is a fucking voodoo hex. All right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Because TJ popped in for advice on that fight and a few other what proved to be very helpful ideas thereafter. And I just have to say, TJ, you're fired.
Yeah, I already know I was out, buddy. We know my shit when it goes to the foot. It can't go wrong.
Yeah. If there is one person in this chat I would not take advice from, it's TJ. Not because I don't think his advice is good. Not because I don't think his advice is good, but because the moment he gives it to you, you are jinxed.
It is cursed.
Right.
It is cursed.
It is absolutely. I absolutely live in that realm.
Cursed
100%,
advice.
man. 100%. Except when I watch your round 3 fight and it goes exactly as I said.
It went crazy. So I was just about to wrap myself up there and say that I did, EP Marjade Starkiller approached it exactly the same way. Got a 57 in round 3 against a fairly well set up team. It wasn't like it was, a weak bum team. So yeah, how about you guys? What do we got?
It will not surprise you to know that I did not face a Ray all week.
I'm just ashamed of you.
Such a fucking asshole, you
lucky nothing.
Son of a. As we are not allowed to say the words of it, but blah,
just bombing him.
That being said, TJ can vouch for me helping him walk through that fight initially.
I made some changes to it, but I think what Dagger called out, and I think we could show it too if you want, Tess. I know we have it, but
yeah, you want me to throw that up?
Yeah, if we want to, but it's like I made some alterations.
This was like 5 minutes after Gaggle.
Yeah. And the nice thing is what I do like about it is
you can't hear what we're saying.
But we had the one thing I like about the update, you have the time to talk it through, right?
All right, you guys see this? You guys see on screen right now?
Yeah.
All right, dig it.
Yeah, we were just kind of talking about the different things you could do here.
Mm-hmm. just trying to play with our food to see what it was going to do.
Yeah, you chose to do the offense up. The stun.
Now, this is the change that I think we made. One of the things we talked about was trying to stun Ezra here.
Yeah, that
This is
definitely proved to be better.
Yeah,
At least
and
for
If
me.
that's what you're
at
planning
least-
to do, you need to mod your Mara for an accuracy arrow.
And
Yeah.
I actually think you're 100% correct.
Yep.
This is
And
I
probably
will.
slow her way the hell down too, so she goes one after Star Killer.
I've
that-
got both for this week, and I feel very
Okay, nice.
confident in the matchup.
And so it's like, that's why I was asking you about it, Fatal. We'll go back into the points of it that I was testing this out, and where it really feels like Relic feels like it matters. Now, the one thing I did note, and we were going through, because I kept asking about him applying Exiled by basically second move, right, Tass? And I said, well, it
Yeah,
didn't
it
feel like
seems
he applied it, but he literally went so fast that he applied and killed my EP at the same time. So that's where it just didn't click. I had to go back and watch the video.
Also, don't you hear what TJ was doing and not take the inspired off Ray? Don't do that.
Yeah, we were at time, but yeah, I agreed.
Yeah.
Very fair. Why am I always doing
But
this?
like I said,
We
we're
were debating
talking
on pulling
through.
the ship down to survive, and it was we basically came to the conclusion of if we die, we die.
Yeah, there was at that point. It was just because I didn't have the full team there, but we took the chance and it worked out. But also, the other piece I would take into that dagger is that we had the still
And
dark
that's
side
the drop
characters.
the heat moment right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why I wanted to bring this up, and
Yeah,
what I
it's
believe.
no EP, no problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's what it felt like, right? But here's the other piece that I went through, and you fought your round 2, and we confirmed that was a Relic 9. Of course, I'm going to go with bad RNG. Also, why Fatal's call out of saying an accuracy arrow, now 100%. Accuracy is the way. Because, and this is why I asked Fatal, and while we talked about it, Task, in his kit for mastery, deflection chance is there, and it ramps
Yeah.
up to a Relic 9, and why Fatal, in my opinion, there's more reasons to his madness that comes into play. His deflection is up to almost 25% at Relic 9. So,
No, it's over. It's over 20. It's 26 and a half for both
even
dodge
better.
and
That's even
deflection.
better. So it's even better than I thought.
To be fair, you're right, TJ. It's under 25%, but they have the 2% base, which got you here.
Yeah, but that's what I'm looking at, right? It's like his is unusually high, and so where Fatal's talked about it, it was just this is like another reason of you want him at the best relics because he's now just a you don't get to hit me bag. He's basically Datacrons built in, and that's why I had to ask Fatal. And I know Fatal's gonna have a lot of more information, but that's why I was watching and seeing what was happening. Where I felt the same thing you did, Tass. On a Relic 7, it feels unusually easy. I had a 50-50 shot on Relic 8s, but on the Relic 9, without the accuracy arrow, mind you, I'm just putting into that. And I know Fatal talked about the Datacron, but it feels like a different fight, and you're not in the same game. And if you get that miss, no matter what you do, man, does it feel bad. I can't even stress them on like the bad.
Quick aside, I do really appreciate it every time CG gives us an evasion mastery character for Ray.
Yes.
Thank you. It definitely makes our lives a lot
It's
easier.
goofy.
I did not realize, like I said, I know he's going to be great, but it's like the amount of what Fatal talked about, feeling the effects, playing him live, right? How fast he gets exiled, how fast he gets to move, he just how good he is. It's like I just don't think we got to appreciate. I know Fatal talks about it, and it was just like, wow.
What's the rest of his mastery? Is it like CCCA? What is?
Crit chance, crit damage, dodge.
That's so gross.
Yeah.
It's just
So
it's
fucking gross.
it's just like I couldn't
It's
appreciate it.
gross.
So Fatal, I bow my head to you again, sir, and you trying to explain it to everybody and me not just comprehending the greatness that it is, but it's like, holy hell, this guy is just so good in so many places. It's just unreal.
Well, this is kind of the nature of 2024 CG design. Is they have gotten very sneaky this year in some ways. That their kit writing has gotten a little bit dishonest. That like I have underrated certain characters before you see like you can't just read this character's kit. You got to go read it.
No,
I mean, it's
man.
not true for Ezra, but true for like certain other factions. Is like like, you got to look at the full picture to like really understand.
Yeah.
But
Like Master
what-
Qui-Gon. Yeah.
with Ezra, I mean, I read him when he first got revealed and was like, whatever, I'll play in 3 months.
Mhm.
And then like 1 week or 2 weeks before launch, it really just like, wait, this is just like every good word you could possibly want in a character. Like for like a bruiser archetype character, I feel like Ezra succeeds so much more than Balin. Like truly, like
I'm laughing because you're right. I just
Yeah.
I don't think I think it's a different game at the top versus everywhere else, right? If you're not getting
Ezra is
a
100%.
proper. Oh
Well, Ezra is 100% an investment dump, and here's the kind of paradox right now is, so I went ham. I went 3 around Ezra. I took him to R9. This is what I do in Galaxy Heroes. I look for power spikes and I buy in.
Really quick, how's your fulcrum?
She's still alright.
Okay, just wanted to just checking in, buddy.
Oh, to be clear, so are the zombie attackers. Don't you worry. We are making zero wise decisions today. but so here's the thing, right? Is like Ezra is a flash in the pan, literally. We don't know if he's going to be going with Ahsoka, and I can tell you right now,
yeah.
this team has a hard counter and multiple soft counters that people just aren't aware of yet. That Rey Ezra, it was like, imagine the usual length of a Datacron season, and it's going to be like a quarter of that. I'm hoping that I get 1 more good week with them, and then I think it's kind of just going to be a regression to the norm that just kind of punishes.
Your call out though, it just I can't explain how understated it is in my opinion. Playing the character and seeing what he does, and that he can be so many words. Yes, I agree with you, and I will never question Fatal's dump into the characters that he does, like his Night Sisters, his Sith. It's historically known. But I
could be wrong, but
I don't think you are, though. You called it out as being better than Cat, and obviously, when we're looking at things like that, the reason is like Cat does the insta kill, right? Yes, and then they've also but he plays in so many places. You put him with the Jedi team, and I know Tass and I talked about it. There's under the JML, he's a great character. That man's a monster under that team as well. He's doing things everywhere he goes. I don't see anything wrong with the investment here because of the fact that he is like a just Swiss Army knife. Put him in this team, he changes things up on you, and he's going to mess you up. We don't even know what it's going to look like in Ahsoka.
I hope that Ahsoka is either dog shit or just so stupidly good that you can be like, nah, Ezra.
She doesn't need him.
That
he has like the Bane
the one thing I will say about Ahsoka is, sorry, Sasha, I didn't talk to.
No. Go ahead. Go. I'll follow you, Dagger. Go for it.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say about Ahsoka is I have a sneaking suspicion, no matter how good or bad she is, her value is going to be locked behind a team of 5 Spectre units. So, use Ezra. Get fucked.
I'm talking about the 3v3. 5v5 is.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, that's fair. I was. My brain doesn't process 3s the same way yours do, because when I see new characters,
we are in 3s, sir. I know it's hard for you to take the game seriously at all right now,
Please.
have a little respect for where we are.
You know how you see a Conquest character and you're like, that'll be playable in 3 months. For him, it's like 2 years. So just gotta,
That's only because of where he got placed. So to be fair.
Yeah, a couple comments to add in here. Like I am really I'm enthused with Ezra. I think it's super cool, remarkable under Rey. I'll get in just a sec to sort of that state, which is very temporary. I suspect, because it seems like certainly in 5's the intent is to have him with Galactic Legend Ahsoka, but. I'm really curious to see him in a number of other fronts, maybe in long term at 3v3 without Ahsoka. But the thing that really came across to me, so I faced him in the matches that I had. I struggled with an EPMJ one. I've watched my own video a couple of times. I'm like, I'm not sure what I did wrong, but I think turn order and speed was an issue for me. But what really struck me was, evasion was just piling up, and we do have a Datacron set right now that completely neutralizes evasion, right? Like, because anything that's stunned can't evade, and any Jedi, of which we've got like what 3 dozen, using a special stuns irresistibly. And so I did it. After failing with the EPMJ Star Killer once, I did a JMK Cat. I don't know, maybe it was Mace. Didn't feel great, but I sure as hell didn't let Ezra stun me, or dodge me. I just kept him stun locked. JML in my second match did something similar, and it felt like I kind of needed to prioritize dealing with that one mechanic in the match, and then just sort of juggle everything else as sort of the side game, but just making sure Ezra never moves. And it felt manageable, but terrifying otherwise if you lose control of that or you go in without that easy stun mechanic. But it makes me really curious about the future of Ezra, and like I'm already thinking about other stuff I might want to do with him. But that ended up being my experience, was lean heavily on just neutralizing that evasion.
Very fair. Yeah, I've seen other people pull off like JML, Jedi Cal, Plo Koon with the Plocron, no problem. High like 56, 57, like 56, something like that. But what
You
else?
really got to love that stun means you can't evade. That is just like one of the better things that CG did with these stun datacrons.
That is true. That's true. Let me
Is
check.
that
I agree.
Though.
Look, man. I get the sneaking suspicion that the stun crowns and possibly even Balin were kind of timed around Ezra as safety valves. Because I don't know if we want to start doing the deep matchup dive yet, but I mean, what I can tell you right now is I do agree that, like, especially with Jedi stun crowns, but even past that, I think squads like JML and Starkiller will do fine against Rey Ezra for people who know how to adapt. But Balin is just like the dynamic is you can make your Ben Solo the best he can possibly be, and you can hope that the Balin owner doesn't know that health is a stat that exists, and that's about the extent of it. Otherwise, your Rey Ezra team will just lose. And like maybe you get some banner attacks along the way. But that insight shielding clause makes so much more sense now that I've seen the matchup in play. And finally, for once in his life, Ben Solo's protection ignore is not only like, useful, but genuinely crucial. Of just like, no, you are the only path out. You have to to close this thing out. Otherwise, we just get steamrolled.
All right. By the way, you sent this link earlier to this sorting on Insight. Is this what are we looking at here?
I clicked through that, just for context. I clicked through that and looked at it, and I said, wow, man, that is really impressive that Rey, Ezra, Ben are just terrorizing the entire community. And then I looked closer, and that is exclusively 2 rounds of attacks against Fatal and Fatal only. So, like, literally, all that bloodshed is on his doorstep and his doorstep alone. Fatal, I thought I mentioned to you, those people have families. Like, this is just unconscionable.
See, this is what I'd heard. I'd heard about this. Seer Malicos Starkiller. This had been through a couple of the more recent challenging Datacron metas, like set 16 with Rey and stuff like that. This was reliable high banners, and it's just getting crushed. It's not just you that people are crashing against the rocks, but damn.
Yeah, this link now includes the 3rd round where they got their red 4. But I mean, Sasha, I'll tell you right now that, like, you said they had families, and I was like, haha, yeah, sure. But like going into the week, I was still kind of reserved of like, okay, my Ezra mods, like I already figured out a better mod load. I wish I brought my Ben Solo. I didn't remod these on really shitty mods. I didn't do anything with Rey. And so I went into the week reserved of like, yeah, it's a high body count, but maybe it's just like cheap cleanup shit.
You got any secret sauce in them mods for the defense team?
Actually, a lot, yes. But I will add 2 qualifiers at the start, which is obviously we're into week 3, so this is all for next season, which depends on if Ahsoka matters or exists. But if you want to farm ahead, there's a few things I would say. Ben Solo, kind of I was just talking about, is like uniquely positioned, I think, to kind of try to harass Balin as well as Starkiller, where I was talking about Mara's 1 speed under Starkiller so that you pop the Foresight and then you just immediately have access to the normal Starkiller play pattern with no muss, no fuss. I guess just aside from Mara stun or Mara stun or Ezra Evader, whichever line you take to open. Past that, the Terminator removal, I think there's actually a little bit of a speed war between Starkiller and Ben and Mara, as well as Ben and Ezra trying to get ahead of Balin and try to be a little bit of disruption, because I don't know if you all have seen the Balin versus Rey matchup, but
I have not.
Here's the elevator pitch for Balin is they are the closest to the old Jedi armor ignore combos that you can really get to. They will negate all of your armor, and just the way that the matchup works, right? They get all that shielding, and then Balin is priority target for whirlwinds. Rey is essentially removed from the match, and it is genuinely the Ben show. So anything you can do of like Ezra trying to stun Balin off Ripper, Ben trying to remove TM is like genuinely you're trying to buy yourself time to try to get Ben the chance to at least like try to nuke out Shin before she puts you in the ground. Because like even
this favors
Merrick,
a pretty fast Ben we're talking about then.
pull up my Ben if you feel like.
Yeah, sure, we can go ahead.
Would counterplay be worth, since they're ignoring all the armor, be worth putting a health cross on Shin?
Yes. This is kind of the thing that terrifies me is ultimately the Balin side holds the leverage. If you just want for health, that your victory is pretty much secured, I would say.
Because Shin is one of those characters where I feel like her just surviving long periods of time will do more damage than if you like. I was talking with Cass about this the other day, where I moved her into a health cross. Same with Sabine, just because they're like relatively squishy and they're long-term damage dealers, or the longer they live, the more damage they do. They don't need their burst to do as much.
I'd agree with that. That's a good call out.
You can't do damage if you're dead is kind of the long-standing mantra that I
Yeah.
follow.
What?
And now that
Dead
we've been
people
farming
don't
all
hurt
these
you?
health primaries with like 4% offense secondaries. I know I say we, but you know what I mean. Now that this has become more normal, right? The health and primaries with offense secondaries.
Yeah.
I think we keep those more often now.
Well, knowing that team, it feels weird, right? Because Shin is really doing all of the. To me, she's the cornerstone of the team. I get there's a wall, and that's Balin, right? But if you look at all the things and the uniqueness of what she does, she's the one to me who's like moving the board around and what she's going to hit you.
Yeah, she reminds me a lot of VSF, where she has a damage, like she has good damage. Well,
yeah,
VSF did back in the day, but she's mostly a utility DPS where you just
100%.
She, having seen the videos that I've seen, which actually I could send them if it's a point of interest, just to help visualize a bit. They're not like the craziest best teams, but with the numbers getting involved anyway, I think it kind of basically what's happening is I think CG kind of branded them wrong. Balin is just trying to be the initiator that opens the floor up for Shin and Merrick to
I think
split them wide open.
I think you're both spot on. That feels exactly what it feels like, right? It's like, yeah, my Balin's gonna go, but what is my Shin gonna do next? Is always what it feels like to me, right? The Merrick kit is simple in the effects of what he's gonna accomplish and what he's gonna do. The Shin and the steps that are making that are doing, to me, significant pieces to the fight.
So, talking about the modding here, I've got Ben actually leaned a bit towards crit damage just because every time Rey takes a turn,
casual 87% special crit chance. By the way,
I told you I'm in the weeds, man. It's
real casual.
Well, this is what I was telling Taz too about Ben. Like this was like months ago. I was telling Taz to get his Ben up to like 80% crit chance.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Just listen to me.
People associate Ben with true damage, but traditionally, all of the oh shit moments that came out of Ben are usually because the single target damage component of his AoE would crit, and that would like put you on the ropes that the AoE would finish you off type situation. That Balin and his squad ramps 80% defense every time Rey takes a turn, so this is really kind of oriented towards Ben turn 2 before the offense gets too oppressive. But this is basically just my week 3 desperation play of how much do I want to try to overcommit to this. in case Balin popularizes a bit, because if people start to realize like just how hard of a counter this is, if you really wanted to tech against this, there are two considerations, and I went with one. The first consideration is accuracy arrow Ezra, because Balin's squad has 20% built-in evasion. That if you want Ezra's son to be 100% reliable, you can swap the arrow out for a high-speed accuracy arrow and go for that. But the thing I kept coming back to is how much do you really want to overcommit to Balin versus like Reaper Wards for all the other matchups. So I canceled that one out, but I am doing Ezra 1 effective speed under Ben. And when you think about how the actual fight flows, it's not... I don't think it's incredibly realistic, but again, I'm trying to just lean in on the cope of if I can have Ezra's second turn happen right after Ben's second turn, I can try to cheat out one extra Ben turn that cycle. You know, it'll be a Ben basic on that turn, but it's at least trying to push him back towards his specials again before the Doomsday Clock. The normal Ezra modding, I would say I kind of prefer to be a little bit faster, a little bit, you know, you can sacrifice some health and armor, but this is more or less the modding that I was on last week that got the record that I got that had 120k health, about 364.
I was going to say, sacrifice, I don't think that's the average sacrifice, because considering most average humans, Fado, are talking about 100k, and you're saying, yeah, I sacrificed some, and you're still at 120. That still feels...
No, 120
is 4 health primaries, too.
120 is pre-sac, to be clear.
Yeah, it is. It's solid. Rock
so to
solid.
kind of go back to the Balin thing, do you think a CA arrow on Shin is enough, or do you think you'd want like an offense arrow on her and a health cross? Just for the people out there who may not have like the depth of health primaries with good offense secondaries.
If you don't have a health primary, then crit avoidance is probably better than nothing. But like, I mean, I cannot say enough that like, think of it as they have infinite protection. So literally, the only way you can lose is running out of health. That like, I mean, look at your 5 dots and see if you have any spare health laying around. Like, I don't, but you might. That could just like, you know, take whatever speed drop need be if you're running low on depth or whatever, but just... Because, again, I cannot stress this enough. Your victory is inevitable. As long as you're, like, a decently invested Balin. Okay, I can find those YouTube links.
When you say decently invested, you're saying over R7? Or do you project that R7 still has the same...
I would imagine that R7... I mean, it's possible that Balin Kron is kind of adjusting things expectation-wise, but everyone who has Balin Kron. So, like, there's no, you know, real gap there right now. But you know, the gap is however they rolled. But
okay.
You know,
well, I was just pointing out, like you said, well built, and I'm saying is R7 a good enough builder? Are you advocating for R8 just as a floor for this?
With Balin Kron, I would imagine it is. Once the Kron goes, like, maybe the dynamic gets a little bit tighter, but I would still say he's heavily favored. Because, again, every time Raid takes a turn, you get 50% bonus protection and 80% defense ramp. And so Balin basically just ignores Whirlwinds, because Ray always aims at a Balin, even if he's not taunting.
Nice.
And the shielding also eats railed, just, like, pretty much guaranteed that this team effectively just wipes Ray off the map.
You think this was CG's intention, seeing as, like you said, that they're hard-coded to Whirlwind Balin?
Well, okay, so the programming for hard-coding Balin isn't actually technically Balin. I think it's just the lead slot is who she tends to go for. It's weird because I saw someone say that recently. I thought she would always Whirlwind Palpatine because I thought Palpatine was a priority target. But maybe that's not true. Maybe
definitely seen her go after some Mara Jades. Definitely seen that, yeah. I know we want to mention Queen Amidala as well when we were mentioning Jedi teams. I don't know if we did. Maybe I'm just forgetting. But Queen Amidala, Master Qui-Gon, Padawan Obi-Wan, Set 17, Stun Kron, for all the reasons already mentioned, why Stun is so great against it. Yeah, that's another option if you're willing to take your Queen off defense.
That's what I used.
With Ron getting in shore, beating Padme's Queen Amidala still, like... I personally would
that Thrawn thing. Glad you asked. I tried that in round 1. There is every possibility that it requires some type of stat balance or a different turn order than the one I used. I tried to intuit it. I didn't have any insight into how to do that fight the one time I tried it in round 1 of this week, but basically 2 times we got close to chipping off Padawan Obi-Wan with Moff Gideon's AoE, and we just couldn't close the deal either time. So, yeah, I don't know. I had the buffs level 3, the alert level 6, so I think that's the absolute minimum to get the job done. But it did not work for me.
I had a similar issue with like unreliability. I had it work once, and I had it full fail a second time. What's that?
Can I ask you, Sasha? Would both people you faced, or is it the same person? Or was it variations in the people you tried it on? Meaning, like, did you try it on an ASOP and then I don't care?
They were both full like R9 squads that I faced with. I mean, so it's like the Partic and Aesop. So 2 of the top accounts, both very well modded. It worked against Aesop. It failed against Partic. I had a similar experience to TAS where that special of MG came relatively close. I mean, not it wasn't just down to a sliver, but relatively close to taking out. I think it was POW on the other side, but didn't do it. So it's possible it was a matter of like more health modding rather than like crit damage, or so like just more hit points generally on the opposing team. I didn't see how the POW was modded. I didn't go back and double check, but it worked smoothly against Aesops. It didn't work against Partics.
My only other one was going to be is a possibility of Datacron. Not yours, theirs.
I thought it might be, but they were fairly similar. And I look back, and the difference that I did notice, I don't think impacted. If anything, would have been more favorable for Aesop. Aesop, I believe, had a level 6 Jedi turn meter on buff, which gave him, I thought, that presented more risk because would give him the opportunity to possibly lap my Moff Gideon. It didn't. Partic had a stun on 6, I believe, and that led to my Shore being stunned, but that ended up making no difference. I could see how it could, because he wouldn't be able to re-up his taunt, but they just plowed down Shore anyway before they even targeted Thrawn or Moff Gideon. But once he was done, I was too. So
Out of curiosity, what relic is your Shore?
8.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think.
I'll just finish my thought then. Since if that isn't consistent, then by all means, keep it on defense. My talking to a couple of people led me to believe that it was a little more consistent than this current conversation. So I was going to say, if that is the case, which it is not, Queen Amidala could get pulled. But if it's not consistently beating it, I'm just saying that seems too cheap to set. If your opponent just gets to like Gideon it.
Sure, if you're fighting an opponent that shows proficiency, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so when you look at your opponent, if they are consistently being able to get that to work, possibly consider pulling your Queen Amidala, just in reference to TAS saying, if you were so inclined to pulling your Queen Amidala.
Yeah. Now, I think we've covered very well, by the way, all these different options for taking on Rey Swallow or Rey or whatever, I guess. But let's go ahead and move to the next matchup. I know Fatal wanted to talk about a couple of his that were particularly interesting. First up, BKM versus Leia. Which round was this, or where do you want me to take us on that one?
It was round 3. It didn't win. This isn't like... This is more like putting on people's radar than like, hey, if this plays out, I think this would be a huge chunk of value, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
My BKM modding has not been correct for a while, and I was just lazy to fix it. But with a week like this where my defense just auto-won constantly, that I was kind of just willing and able to full send whatever I was in the mood for just to see what happened. Mm-hmm. I didn't think this would be anything, and it, Side's dead, Leia dead once, and this is with my modding deeply incorrect. That if you're interested, there is one slight change I would make from normal BKM. So normal BKM... you need them to be faster than BKM just to have the ideal opener.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a pre-stun in play, like a R2 assisting Leia, then BKM gets faster, so then you would need to make your BAM have a bit of a speed gap just to help offset that. And then I think if you really want to be thorough, I think you make IG-12 faster than either of them, just so that if the flow chart goes on stun on BAM, then you can still get your opener. Kind of like the classic IG-11 BAM setups, right? Where fast IG kind of
frees everybody up. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Bo's got the tenacity up, Bam doesn't. We use IT12 cleanse just to open it up, then you still get your combo off. I think that, this seems incredibly promising, and I can't really speak to Bo-Katan's normal matchups about how much of a pain Tanker Vive has been. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, I will get the opportunity to work at it this week. That I think hopefully plays out.
That is a pretty high value. Yeah, that's a good one. All right, another matchup you wanted to cover was Finn Zori versus the Gungans. Where are we going for that?
I think it was also this match.
Scroll back up. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. So it was. Very first one.
Yeah, Phalanx is kind of a pain. I don't know if I prefer Tarpals or Phalanx, but
So, yeah.
it just, again, kind of just looking for ways to value trade and kind of ease off pressure. Not that Gungans are that crazy anymore, but I don't really have a high calling for Zori either. So
No, this is a big deal. Yeah, it's not the defense that it once was. So you got a set 17 defense penetration, little bit of defense, 32% potency. You have this light side speed up level 3. How flexible do you think this counter actually is? How much of it do you feel was dependent on this set 17 datacron?
that Datacron is not optimized in any remote way.
Right,
I would not treat anything you see there as sacred.
Okay, so you could just as well run with a set 18 mercenary and see if the Zori thing was any fun.
Yeah, if I had it my way, my ideal crown would probably just be a bunch of defense with light side TM, or speed up is okay as well. But
Okay, yeah, okay. So
they've got
defense is
decent
key
controls.
for you in this matchup.
If you're fighting against Tarpals, I suddenly worry about defense a lot more.
Mm.
If you're fighting Phalanx, then Deathmark is kind of the biggest scare for you. And I caught Deathmark a few times here, but they just don't really have enough moves to challenge how much sustain you tend to get. I'm not going to bat for this counter nearly as much as BCAM against Leia. And yeah, I think this is more so just me calling out that hey, I think that there's something promising here that if this continues to play out could net you an advantage. The BCAM stuff requires a bit more setup. This is if you've got a durable enough Zori squad, I think you could just tussle this out against Phalanx. Still unsure against Tarpals. Tarpals, you might be more on the hook for coming correct and being able to take those Tarpals hits can definitely test you a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I will say is normally I am very gung-ho about Zori modding, that I say cut their damage. You do not need it. You absolutely do not need it. This is an exposed squad first and foremost, and their base damage is high enough. You need the damage here. Look at the timer on this fight.
Yeah, 455.
Percent health is so marginalized against Gungans. It's totally true.
Yeah.
Exposed is just not doing the work.
Even
It's
with the
marginalized,
shield
and
down,
they had a I think protection regen from somewhere that I don't recall. Yeah, it definitely took some working, and at some point I just stopped talking and was okay, no, I need to play this match rather than commentate this shit and actually do the damn thing.
How much of that clock is you just being incredibly deliberate, and how much of that clock is this fight actually being a huge timeout risk?
It's hard to say because I think I switched modes halfway through. It is definitely you are cycling for the sake of your team going through one rotation of buttons. We're talking 25 to 33% of Phalanx's protection bar, for example. That you do need to. This is a volume of turn type counter. I'm struggling to think of the last example. Kind of Nice versus Jabba, but we've had this before, right? Where it's you're guaranteed to win this, but you just need to press buttons 150 times within 5 minutes type shit.
Yeah, that's what I said. My question was more of is this a 4-minute fight, or once you get proficient with it, it is not a timeout risk, but still a 4-minute fight? Or is this almost always going to be a timeout risk?
I would imagine that once you're comfortable with the fight, because I very much was not.
Okay.
Yeah, it probably is not this close, but I can't really say confidently what it looks like.
Sample size of 1.
Sample size of 1, and also Finn is a very health-heavy character that it's possible that Deathmark on Finn is just a whoop, I'm fucking dead type moment. Yeah, you got to respect Gungan volatility. That there are some unknown quantities here versus again BKM versus Leia. I have a hard time imagining how I could possibly be done there. It's just the matchup seems kind of solved now. This is yeah, you're still kind of leaning forward. You're still kind of edge of your seat type shit.
Is Deathmark random, or does it go on or is it targeted?
Random between anyone who has at least 3 debuffs on them. So with Zori and Finn both in the squad, you do have a lot of Cleanse. But it's actually kind of a textured matchup. For example, Boss Nass is constantly checking Zori. And I don't know for sure, but just from how the matchup played, I think Zori's Omicron shuts off if she's not in stealth on turn start. And so there was this constant flow of Zori Omicron. Wait, why is it off? Zori, wait, why is it off? That it's possible that I should just be holding Zori Mouse for straight after Boss Nass, or I don't know. Again, sample size of 1, and it feels like there's some bones here, but at the same time, especially with how passive Phalanx squads are.
Yeah, this one just interests me the most. I mean, not the BKM versus Leia isn't impressive, but this is one where it's just could you be more budget?
Yeah, the value trade's incredible, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because a lot of people are holding Gungan lately, but this is still a very common defense. Sorry, you were going to say?
Yeah, I was saying, make all the jokes you want about where I'm at in GAC, but I mean, this is, so good. If you can just prot stack OG Finn, and then maybe just put a prot circle on Resistance Hero Finn to just, minimize Deathmark, and that's the only change you have to make to just cycle enough turns.
Yeah, anything you do to weigh against Deathmark. The issue is I think Finn's base is only 20k protection and 50k health. Or the ratio is just insane. But that's not to say that doing that work couldn't still help, right? We're still at the end of the day talking ratios that chuck in flat protection, chuck in a Datacron with any protection you could get. You can still do that work.
Very fair.
Yeah.
Very fair. Okay. Now, before we close out meta-analysis, speak now, forever hold your peace about any other interesting matchups you wanted to cover there before we go on best attack and defense.
How do you guys beat Gear 12 Geos without a Datacron?
Ooh. Yeah, I enjoy when I get...
Do you risk Freya solo? Seriously, do you risk Freya solo?
No, I don't usually do that. You know what I do love? Though, every time I can against the Geos when I get Nerodium, is the solo Darth Vader. It never gets old.
Well, I might try that.
It never gets old.
Oh, that actually sounds fun.
You're almost universally faster. I don't think I've ever run into one where I wasn't faster on my Darth Vader, and that's some satisfaction. That is pretty rare. But all right, fair enough. Sorry.
Have you considered the possibility that you've got a unique opportunity to become a content creator for mid game players right now to show them the ropes on how to
use your R9s to fuck up your 12.
That's right. All right, you two kids will have the same results at Relic 3 that I do at Relic 9. Here we go. Very good. Very good. All right, let's close this one out and go to best attack and defense of the week. Dagger, I won't waste your precious time.
No. I told you, I got this. I got these.
What you got?
So the best attack of the week. Your family tree is a wreath.
Yeah.
The best defense of the week is no you.
All right.
Those of you who don't know, I'm just basically giving the best insults and rebuttals that my kids had this week because my GAC doesn't mean anything.
That is fantastic. I appreciate your
Absolutely
contribution. Yes, thank you ever so much. All right, TJ, what you got? Let me flip over to your tab. Where are we going?
Obviously we're not going to do Ray, right? That was obviously its own mainstay. I didn't get to have 18. I feel kind of sad I didn't get that Fatal, but also I didn't put the investment Fatal did. My Ray got 10 holds with all quality teams on round 2, but we won't go there. I'll go Drakens. Drakens is a round 3. That was a good one. The one that caught him, it wasn't the Ray, it was the Leia. So we've talked about it, and I said it before, and Leia always felt like a main staple of just holding things down. 5 attacks in, and it was just doing dirt, protecting itself from all things coming. And even got a message from...
This is maddening. He didn't go with the Jedi stun here. Yeah.
So I'll still take it as it's cool to get a 5-shot, but also very scary when Fatal says, "Yeah, just go use BKM." It's like, well, that's not nice.
Well, shit.
But yeah. Well, Leia still feels like such a good thing on the team because you go for all the other pieces and then you leave Leia and then you've left Leia. So people just seem to forget that, and that's where I take my strength from. Definitely favorite defense. Attack was everything I was doing on Ray Ezra. Everything else to me felt irrelevant because it all felt the samesies. I did get a Night Sister team to work out pretty good on Jabba round 3, but
no other noteworthy attacks.
No, just Queen. Queen felt good against a different setup on round 3.
Ray. Yeah, I see that here.
Yeah, so the one thing that made it interesting that he did for the setup, and I took note of it because it was cool. He did the Jedi. His Jedi Cron is high tenacity, so it was an added 100% tenacity. His Ezra was 244% tenacity. Other pieces that would apply to it. And so with that, and then the turn meter gain, it was cool. So watching the fight, and I kept it, and I just played it in horror. Irrelevant to Queen. Queen didn't give a shit, and she said, "Oh, you think you're cool," and then commenced to just beat the shit out of that team. But it was a cool idea of having the Datacron be the Jedi stun to play that factor, because I think, as Fatal said too, Ezra moves a ton, man. And with each move, it's very scary, right? Turn 1, if you get into turn 1 and he gets to go for a turn 2, someone's exiled. So you've already lost a character, even if you don't lose the character. So you're literally looking for, how do I prevent turn 2? And that's where I think we've talked about with Starkiller.
Also, really quick, another quick reminder. One of Ben's Omicrons makes that giant nuke a 2-turn cooldown, which means he's doing that every other turn. So make sure you check.
One of Ezra's. You're saying Ezra's.
Yeah, Ezra's. That's what I'm saying. Make sure you check Ezra's Omis, because that one special he has, it reduces the cooldown, and that's terrifying because that thing is a truck.
And the idea that you put in a stun on Ezra, so you're playing double down into it, that if he gets to go, so high speed, high tenacity, the turn meter gain, it's cool with the idea. And then you went high tenacity on the Cron to play with the fight. I, of course, took Stark because I wanted to check it out. I had all of the bad luck that you had, Tess. So I told you I took it all from you during your round 3 because it was like I used all of it. All of the dodges, all of the deflections, all of the good things. But Queen just doesn't care. And that's to the point of what Fatal called out as well, that with Stun Jedi, 2 of your teams are Jedi, it just takes care of itself, and then you don't get to play with that. You just lose.
Okay. All right. Sasha, how about you? Your favorite attack and defense of the week?
Sure. So attack will be the first one that shows in my round 2 and round 3 histories there. Really smooth. And that's like, the Enoch, Night Trooper, Death Trooper, Peridia, very smoothly one-shotting Jabba. Very smooth.
Yeah.
There's just nothing to it. And
is it about 53 in both cases? What do we get here?
It was. There's some regeneration involved, but when you've got debts, all over the place, like you lose at random, you lose health at random times. But it felt comfortable, so that was solid. It does have the Death Trooper Peridia level 9. I think it's doable if you have, frankly, any other Remnant 9. I would say Enoch, but the Enoch one makes no meaningful difference.
Yeah.
I think as long as you've got the Alert 6, you're probably in good shape. Then on defense, I was thinking of a couple of different things. I'll go with this sort of stemmed out of the Ray conversation and my discomfort with how EP MJSK went in my round against Aesop. So I set it up front in my last round. So you'll see it. I think it's the first defense there.
Yep.
And it ate a JML. So it being able to hold against a GL was nice.
Yeah,
so,
you got the damage immunity level 6 on here. Nice.
That's right. And ultimately, MJ fell, and it's a shell, or a shadow of itself once it breaks Starkiller's unique in the next round. But I'll take the hold. So those were the two that stood out. There were a few others on the margins, but those were the two I figured were worth noting.
Okay, all right. Fatal, how about you? What you got? Your favorites? Sounds like you have a few high performing defense week at least.
Well, we already kind of talked about it. I mean, Ezra kind of just stole the show. That everything past that was just kind of like Yeah, what are you gonna do when all of your teams just got put to a collective blender?
Very good.
I
Offensively.
guess. Yeah, like Balin is mostly just doing his job and eating shit to open up territory for everyone else. So I guess what I would say is more sort of towards the offense side. Like, I had a very weird Night Sister versus. I feel like a broken record where I swear I'm not the Night Sister versus Jabba guy. It's just a matchup that keeps on like showing variety.
I don't know
in
why you
interesting
would ever
ways.
try to not say. Why would you? Why would you of all people ever say that? That you are not the Night Sisters versus Jabba guy.
This is like when people are like, "Hey, you're like a separatist fanboy, right?" And it's like, look, I don't love Grievous and the Geos. They just happen to be mechanically interesting, okay?
But Fatal, to be fair, and let's all be honest, it was not cool to do Night Sisters until you did Night Sisters on Jabba. You are literally the pinnacle cornerstone of anybody who tried this shit was you, and then we put together pieces that are not as cool as yours, but you are hands down the guy. It's the same thing that goes, and I'll keep saying this because I still remember this to this day. You are the Sith dude versus LV. You are the dude who's making Traya cool. So it's just own where you have it.
I think what Fatal's trying to say is that he can be, Reggie Miller. He ain't trying to be Steph Curry.
Sure.
I'm not sports savvy enough to appreciate the reference.
Basically, he may popularize something. He doesn't want to be the guy known for it.
Right. Right.
It's all right.
I got the reference, and I don't.
Man doesn't want to get typecast. At least for that, I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Very good.
I'm just not trying to be Sheen bringing the same team to show and tell for the 7th time in a row. Like, anyway, so my Talzin, it turns out the 3v3 loadout just sucked. Like, I'm so fucking happy to have this fixed for this round because look at that Datacron that I brought. You see that defense number?
Yeah.
The nature of my Talzin modding, like, she had health primaries and crit damage mods, but she didn't have crit chance secondaries. And that 32% defense was enough to make it so that my Talzin couldn't die. So I had the sides dead against Jabba, but I could not actually get to last standing. So when you look at that match result, the thing that I need you to know is that Talzin got ulted by Jabba and permanently killed.
Really?
And again, I'm not trying to be the Night Sister guy, but I cannot remotely fucking tell you my Marin was still able to infinite loop anyway, and I don't know why. Because every other turn, I would do a Marin basic, and no Mother Talzin would show up, but then she would just take a bonus turn anyway, like, haha.
There's layers of bugs with that.
It's just the game gave up. It's like, look, you don't have other Talzin, and you know what? You can have it anyway, Fatal. It's fine.
Yeah, that was my loyalty program. Fucking
Liz Swingo said,
"That's right.
You earn enough bonus points. You get the win anyway. Shit didn't go you like you expect here. You may have it anyway, sir. Here's your prize with your Happy Meal."
Also, fuck, match 1. Again, I swear I'm not trying to be the nicest guy. Fucking shoot me in the brain right now. Look at the Jabacron. This is the same shit that I've been running. This is perfect tech against Night Sisters, which, fair fucking warning, it seems like nobody is running Night Sisters, so don't text something that nobody does. But they had the Tenacity Jabba. They had Darkside regen on Resist. And this is a battle I didn't think I was going to be able to stream that day, so I started running fights off stream, and I didn't get to show this one. They had the tech. They had the Tenacity Jabba, they had Tenacity on Kron, they had the regen on Resist. He was staying at full health permanently, and so I had to improv it out where I had to cycle Mariner vibes to get Asajj out a couple of times to try to line up the heal block with Asajj Omicron. It didn't work the first 2 tries. I got it out in the last try, and it was down to the wire. But yeah, cool fight where like I was actually able to overpower the tech, just barely. Like I did get fairly lucky that like I think I revived Asajj every time. Where like, if you just roll a Talzin, it's like, well, sorry.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, fortune was on your side, but I would have been mad if I was this guy trying to specifically build against that, because most everybody's running the set 18 mercenary, light side, max health damage 3. So, yeah, that was a choice.
That shit does not matter for Marin.
Not at all. Not in the least. It's trivial for that, but yeah. All right. Good stuff. For my part, let's see. I want to say we had some pretty good defense action. So this is what I'm talking about with people using like Seer Malicos, Starkiller, 2 Relic 9 characters on here. You've got, well, see, I don't know that I would have done this with the Terran Malicos level 9. I still argue is pretty poor. Love to see that. See, I asked Michael what happened here, and, the RNG gods chose me because they decided to blitz down his Marin. So, okay.
Rule 1, don't get Marin focused.
I'm down with it. No. Okay, yes. This was really cool, okay? I have been seeing Inquisitors be 100% against Balins. All right, and my Cron is nothing exceptional. The level 3 is bulk, level 6 long text, and then my stats are split 4 ways: 63% offense, 80% defense, 58% health, 57% protection. So, actual mediocrity. And he's got 998 relics on these guys with the Grand Inquisitor Cron, bulk level 3, turn meter long text level 6. It was a decent setup. Crit damage, protection. Yeah. It was a decent setup. So I haven't really seen this happen for a lot of folks. That one jumped out at me. And let's see. I think I had a couple other things.
That was just his day, I think, is what it was, right? Because I did the fight with the Inquisitors against the Balin setup, and I could see where there's a small possibility of it catching you, but it's just the day of just set your phone down. You're not going to gack today. It's okay. Go play something else.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I don't think there was anything revolutionary in this one on attack. Oh, this is the one. Holy crap. No, I'm gonna go get the video for this.
Yeah,
y'all deserve to be seeing this.
Okay. This is me still being on the call. So just so you were.
I was so mad. I was between the advice that I got from TJ.
Which was correct, damn it. Which was correct, but still,
it was something. It was real, and it was something, and it was really.
You got a 57. Let's call it correct, but I still laugh because I'm like, yeah, this is 100% on Swiggo. But mind you, he didn't. So hold on. Let me give a little insight here.
Please.
Cass and I were talking back and forth, right? He didn't just take advice and go like that. He went to insight. He went to look at actual data.
We tried to be cautious.
And let me add more to the fire. This was when the characters were relicked, right? So mind you, he put in limitations that would make it higher than what we faced. So I just want to preface that when we watch this, he did his homework. He didn't just walk in. He was already understandably tilted, but this was still, he methodically approached the fight, trying to learn.
But all that said, so I had a set 17. This was my finest armor penetration and crit damage Cron that I had. And again, the idea is like, this is going to be a pretty reasonable trade if it works, because I sorted for non-7-star Great Mothers, and you could see this was a 5-star, right? Obviously no Datacron attached. Granted, all defense mods, health primaries that he had on there, at 5A, all decent choices, but nothing that should have stood up to that on paper, you would think. All right,
you just gotta let him watch the video from there. That's where it's like the music.
No, I appreciate your preface as well, because I was going to say, like, really put some thought into it, and it did not feel like a reckless choice.
I said let's just go with something.
Here we go.
Put it.
All right, here we go. Watch this. Hold on. I'll speed it up after this initial moment, but you got to see this in real time. What the fuck is that? What in the fucking?
Like nothing. It was literally nothing, and I was in amazement to see that amount with Datacron. She just took that shit and said, sit the fuck down. No
Datacron, whatever. Now, I know that there's a whole bunch of defense and health multiplier action in there. You could not have convinced me. I would have never expected that. I don't know if you guys have other thoughts on this.
But it's just like, and Swiggo Insight literally said 100%. So it's like all of this track.
It was small sample size, like only 3 or 4 fights, granted. But we've had good results on that type of thing before when we've dared to try.
Yeah.
And no, not today. Absolutely.
And you had the datacron, and you had the added datacron to power it, and it was like, oh, you thought you wanted to do
You
something.
get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir. Yeah, no, this was a complete horror show, and I hated it.
This is why we really need players to work on their fundamentals like territory battles. Because if you played the Dathomir special mission, I could have told you that Dash was not going to end well.
Oh yeah, why is that? What did we miss in this?
They just regen very well off of multi hits. So like, if you play the Night Sister special mission, normally Dash AoE just like instant kills your team unless you put on pervert levels of defense. And for Great Mothers, Dash like might as well not even exist, or like he kind of puts the team down to half. But they absolutely, if you have a kit that says I do damage to you multiple times, they're like, nah, you threaten me with a good time. I'm gonna regen per hit. It's
Fair.
Have you heard of Barris? I'm like a super Barris. So,
Fair. But what would you say to surviving even the first tap of Han on a 5-star?
I think Han could use some help nowadays.
Yeah.
But like
It's
it's like
something.
looking at it like a kid going against an adult, and you think like, but no, I'm a super kid. I've got super.
No,
It's
is
like,
actually like that. It like I feel like some like vagrant like drunk on malt liquor
It's
that's spotted the
'Cause it's
playground
not-
of kids across the street. I go and pick a fight with the smallest, weakest looking one, and
Yeah.
like 15 seconds later, just crying on the
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah, because Fatal, you would agree, right? Fatal, you're not nothing when it comes to your modding. You're very meticulous. Tass is very meticulous. So it's not just I threw on some shit
It was
and it
bad
went to
time.
town. So
was
it's
bad
Tass modding applied, and we looked, right? Because obviously there's no 6-dot mods. There's no
good.
heavy build-in. This is like you've taken your template and I just hit auto, and this is what we get, right? It's
Well,
that's
To
what it
Fatal's
was.
point, to Fatal's point, though, and I think that this cannot be overstated and needs to be said many, many more times for people who need to hope / cope / like realize all these old characters multipliers are kind of doo doo. Like the new characters are just so much better than the old characters.
I
Like
don't disagree.
Fatal's right. Han needs a lot. Like Han needs a buff. Like Han.
But he
I'm
did.
not saying he sucks.
He did. He took a datacron. He took a buff. That's why I laughed at it. It's like he even got the added belt of having. Let me put on. And he, as Tass said, Tass, was that not your best armor?
It was the
datacron?
finest armor penetration I had available for the
Now, I
entire
will cop to this.
round.
Now, I will cop to this. Tass did message me about this team, and I did not respond because I was,
Yeah, I DM'd him
Indisposed.
before I started streaming. It's like, what would you take against this? Because we all know what you would take against the proper team. That's fine. But it's
Yeah.
like, I wonder what you might try.
but but I would not have taken anything less than CLS lead.
No, we talked about it. It had
we
bad
didn't.
metrics.
The win rate was actually significantly worse for
It was-
CLS than it was for Dash. I was
There-
thinking the same at first. And then it's like,
So-
okay, we'll
Wait,
just
hold on.
lock
Tass,
in with the Dash then.
Tass,
And that shit ain't
what
work.
was my recommendation to you? It's funny that you say that, Dagger. What was my recommendation? I was like, well, if I would do anything, it'd be what?
I don't remember now.
CLS lead. That's exactly what I told you. I'm like, yeah, I
mhm.
guess it would be. I would take CLS Han Chewie because that would make sense, right? The pieces that would go together. I'm not taking the fatal, but so it's funny that Dagger said that to you.
If you're gonna do Dash lead, I would almost assuredly take like Vandor, Young Lando.
This
Hey,
is
again,
on-
it was all data driven. It was
That's it.
already showing
Look,
to have been
look,
successful
here.
with very, very high
I'm gonna be honest.
win rate.
Is there
I'm
something to
gonna
be
do-
said here?
Yeah, sorry.
You
For
brought
what?
an armor pen. You brought an armor pen crown against the character with no armor. That like maybe that also plays some also.
It was both the highest armor penetration and crit damage.
Oh, okay.
It was
Yeah.
all of the good things.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It's like when we said CLS, right? Tass went and scoped the data, and the data on CLS, I want to say it was 0. I remember 0. I remember
was-
being very like, oh, I
Didn't
was
you
wrong.
straight up say the sample size of this was like 3 or 4 fights? So
Well,
like, I'm
remember
not
with
taking-
all the filters that I routinely apply, yeah,
Right.
like across all of the different counters done, there was only a handful of each. But the point is just within that handful,
Yeah.
there were definitely standouts. Okay, so it's like that. Anyway, the whole point is
Just without you,
nothing
huh?
could have prepared me for that experience. Sorry,
How'd that work out?
Yeah, I was surprised. I was,
Dude, it was 100%. You had to be there.
If you got time, you can. No, you don't. You didn't have to be there. If you have the time, go back and watch that first 30, 40 minutes of the VOD once we get started on the fighting.
No, I just have to comment that the having to be there live and watch it and just in dismay. And I know I always have something to say. I was literally shocked. All I could do was apologize because it had to be me. I had to be there, and it had to cause it.
Well, let's close this one out because we still have a good bit of stuff to get through, guys. Let's see. Did I miss anybody? No, I think we got Sasha, then Fatal, and me. Okay, yeah. No, we're good on that. All right. So next item. We're going to probably have a later separate conversation here about all the kits that came out, because last Friday was a crazy news day, right? We had this update about, what is it? The community update, the eras, the episodes, all of that sort of thing. The new questing system that's come. So, this is an enormous post, and I am definitely not going to do what I would otherwise like to do for new releases and just read it top to bottom. But, guys, talk about what you like best about this, the real highlights for you.
Yeah, for $30 a month, you can play this game for free.
Go on.
You're not, just so you know, you're not sharing to us, Tass. It's paused for us on our side.
Oh, yeah. Let me. That's just.
You tab off of League.
No, I had.
You know you're A-ramming.
So I'm going to start just super high level on it, in that what I take as a clear positive out of this is continued signs of life and effort being put towards. And I know there are many other things that are happening here, but there is genuine effort towards quality of life, towards I think sustainability of the game.
Agreed.
So on the high, more abstracted level, I take that as a meaningful positive for a mobile game that's approaching a decade.
Yeah.
So that is a high level super positive. Now we can crap on it.
Well, no, what I said was actually a good thing, right? For those people who want to spend on this game for $30, you basically get everything.
Well, detail that. How do you mean?
Oh, so for the $10 Conquest Pass and the $20 monthly Battle Pass, what do they call it?
The episode track pass.
Yeah, I'm just going to refer to it as the Battle Pass from here on out, and y'all can just know what I mean.
Sure.
But between the two of those are going to help you get all the new characters a little bit quicker with the shards. It gets you a total of 12 additional Omicrons, so 28 Omicrons a month. It gives you a bunch of other stuff in the store. You can go look. There's some stuff in there.
The store does have some genuinely cool things.
I've been buying attenuators
for that. My man.
Stuff. Not that any of the stuff in there is bad, mind you, right? Kairos are good, mods are good. There aren't bad things in this store. There's even shards, but I just bought the attenuators there for the 4K. But
makes sense.
The point I'm trying to make here is this game, if you're willing to spend the $30 a month in what we'll call air quotes upkeep, I think that's probably all you have to spend, unless you want to spend more.
Mm-hmm. I don't even know if I would call it 30, to be honest. Depending on whatever people are comfortable spending, I'm actually probably going to cut out the Conquest Pass because, the Conquest Pass was never really about getting characters faster. It was actually just kind of a solid relic pack, because you could just take that 2,000 currency and put it on a character or on relic materials and salvage and signal data and all that good stuff instead. But with how much is being offered here, again,
I think I agree with you for us. I'm talking about for the mat. We play at a different level than a lot of the people, and I'm simply saying that the Conquest Pass makes a lot of sense for a lot of people who still need a lot of signal data and gold gear and relic material.
Yeah, you're saying this is the strike zone for Dolphins. People that would be willing to put in a little bit to get a lot of value, and these are the value plays.
Yes, I think that. Obviously, like Fatal just said, I was going to talk to you about this later, Task, probably next week or so, about I'm probably done buying the Conquest Pass, like Fatal said, because I don't need the currency anymore.
I think that starts to come down to time now. I really feel like that one's starting to get to the point of time, because Dagger is the one who sold me on doing the higher tier
If
conquest
you're
pass.
going to do
I
the
was
pass,
doing
do the $30 pass, not the $10 pass. If you're
That's what
so
I did.
inclined to buy the pass, you're going to buy the $30 pass for the stamina regen and all that stuff. But if you don't buy the pass, the currency you get from playing Conquest is enough to buy all the signal data and all the shards.
The only thing I wanted to ask to make sure of, I know it's in this post, it talks about it. If you buy the 20, you get the 20 shards. It didn't look that way to me in game. I bought the $40 one just because I wanted to see the value of what it looks like, and I'll make another informed decision based on next month's.
I actually bought the $20 pass because I clicked on the one that popped up and I didn't go in.
It's not clean. But to your point, that it's not clean. It's not cleanly out. I know they were trying to make it very, very evident of what's happening. But when I looked at the $20 one, it did not look like you were getting the shards. And at least for this month,
you are.
You have to tap on the box.
That's what I'm saying. It just felt very. I didn't have a lot of time, right? And so for me, I didn't care. But to your point, like as we get further into it, and this one, you get 20 shards not only for Hu Yang, you get 20 shards of Syndulla, so that's 40 shards total, both characters. That to me already starts to add in the value of what we're trying to accomplish here. But I agree. I don't see a reason. I think 30 is a good call of what you're trying to do realistically, because the value of what they give you feels super strong if you're willing to pop $20 just for it.
Let's also really quick mention that they give you a card of 15 Omicrons or whatever it is when you buy the 10x pack.
Oh yeah, I saw that today. I was
of the Hu Yang. Hey, we'll talk. We got a topic item for Hu Yang.
We were talking about quality of life. I was simply mentioning that as a quality of life aspect.
Big deal.
When you pull that trigger, you get the 15 there and the 5 from the marquee. So the marquees now, if you do the 10x pack, give you the full Omicron for the character.
Yep.
That was crazy when I saw that. I was like,
really quick, which means you don't have to buy the $30 pack, the $30 4-star pack anymore, because you're generally reading the value in that is the Omicrons. So now you can just. Sorry.
No, it's like to your point, because that's the first time they've done it, right? That was a general question. I've always missed the 10 pack. Well, no, I'm saying the other 10 packs they've done have not had that Omicron built in, right? This is the first time. I've missed it. Why I'm asking that is...
I think so. I've not always gotten the...
Okay. I think, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that for this one. I honestly believe, this is just a hypothetical, that this is the first time they're offering that amount of Omicron on top of the 10 pulls. And with that, it technically is a lot cheaper because if you're doing $12.99 per, it was already talking about the value. So if they continue that QOL as well, that is a huge added incentive because we already know how expensive Omicrons are based on their values.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm simply pointing out that they reduced the cost of new characters even further by doing that.
And by the way, guys, I didn't end up clicking it, but I had to sit here and stare at it for a second because I was thinking, maybe I want to have the fully upgraded episode Pass Plus. Because I'm thinking, ooh, look at all these extra shinies. But then I actually bothered to read English for a second. And this is going to be unlocking 10 tiers, both top and bottom of it, with the pass activated. So it's unlocking 20 rewards that you were otherwise actually just going to earn anyway with the base, with the first upgraded level of the pass.
The pop-up is the $40 pass. Don't click the fucking pop-up.
Yeah, the $40 pass doesn't seem that
great. It's the 20 plus this.
I got it this time and this time only because if you got in game in the first hour of the patch hitting before the store reset, you could use that excess currency to buy out the episode store.
Nice.
Smart man.
Never gonna buy it again because you're getting like this is the exact same system as Marvel Snap and it's a good system, but what you need to know is it's not really trying to scam you in any way. Like you will reach the end of the pass as long as you're like decently interacting with the quests, and the quests are not made to be hard. Yeah. Like it's not conquest level quests. It's just
not only are you going to reach the end of it, there's like a box you complete multiple times at the end that you're going to probably complete a non-zero amount of times as well.
Yes. So like
you can be a part-time player and probably, and by part-time I mean you probably still have to log in every day. I'm just saying like you can complete like the pass without doing everything. Like
yeah, if you take a 2-week vacation, then like you will still have all of the chapter quests by the end if it works like Marvel Snap, or like you'll log in and there'll be like 28 things that you can knock out.
what's funny is when you do the Hu Yang event, I feel like I was completing not only the character one, but if you go and look, like I haven't done anything else, right? I just did the Hu Yang setup. And by that, I had knocked out so many boxes of what was going on. Like, obviously it's showing you in game, but it's like not only are you completing the character pieces for Hu Yang, but I was getting the actual event pieces going as well, no problem.
Yeah, this is not conquest levels of like we want you to get out of your way. This is like, hey, go play with the toy, and if that means autoing a marquee, that's fine with us.
Yeah,
very fair. All right.
The one negative thing I'll say about this is that they basically told us, we're gonna just like, we're just gonna have a whole lot of paywalls. Like, to break it down as much as possible, we're gonna get 4 to 6 marquees per quarter, and then we're going to have an event or a journey guide release at the end of every quarter. So we're gonna get 2-ish marquees a month in perpetuity. And man, that's going to get old having a new character every 2 weeks. Now, they said that it won't be every month, but they basically couched some of their language, but this is basically saying that they're going to put out a character every 2 weeks in perpetuity, and you're going to have to buy a non-zero amount of those. So they made characters cheaper, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of burnout from spenders with this. So that's the biggest negative I'm taking away from this update, because we've already talked about it. Overwhelmingly, the majority, I believe, of this was incredibly positive.
Mm-hmm.
The battle pass, the most negative thing I can say about this update is, man, you could have done this like 4 years ago. No, I'm serious though.
I think overwhelmingly, I'm very positive on it. Yeah, but go ahead, keep on.
No, that's all. Like I was just saying, like the worst things I can say about the majority of this update is like I can't believe you didn't do this sooner, because you're not one of the last. I'm sure there's other games out there, but for the other games I've tried, they all have battle passes. So this game not having one outside of Conquest did feel different, and now that it's here, it's like, all right, cool. And like Fatal even pointed out, we don't care how you use the new toy, just go use the new toy.
The thing I'll add on is, when it comes to like a new character fatigue, I would say, because I think there was a trick that got kind of played on me to a degree, where as marquees became cheaper, it was like, it kind of triggered the part of my brain where we're like, oh, this is a no-brainer now, and it's like, no, this is the new paradigm. Like, do you actually need this character at this timing? And so I think as we move into this whole era system, I think I'm going to try to fall into the pattern that I usually fell into for like major tentpole releases, where it's like, okay, I'm probably going to farm the first few characters of an era, and then as the event closes, I'll maybe consider the last character or two based on whatever the timing ends up being on that. But that,
I think that's what their goal was, though.
That's especially since we have a set cadence, Fatal, like you mentioned, because they've been pretty. The transparency here is like nice, but it's also like, where's the other shoe going to drop? Because I feel like this transparency is going to come with a cost.
I think I'll be okay. I understand buyer fatigue, but I also want to say I really feel like that was the goal of doing exactly that, Fatal. That was their entire intent of where they've gone and what they've done. I've heard Solo say it. I've heard other people where there was a threshold for spending, and it was making it okay to get within that threshold, right? So it was like them playing with the dynamics to get you to be where it's like, oh, no, I can still do this. It's fine.
This basically represents CG going face up, where in the past, historically, Galaxy Heroes was always like, almost to a bizarre degree, it was like, no, the whole gambit is like, we're trying to keep you in the dark, we're trying to make you read tea leaves, and then, oh, the event's here, and did you work on this?
Did you panic farm enough?
Yeah, the accurate FOMO, right? Did they catch you? Did you make the gamble and it was a good gamble, right? Did you, here's this, as they call it, surprise penis. Now you get it, and
that stuff was kind of fun, but like, I mean, the easy example I go back to, fucking Galaxy Heroes history, is like, yeah, right, like back in the Solo / Old Republic era, I was like, well, Solo's the tentpole release because it had a movie come out, so I'm going to work on those guys because they're probably going to get the thing. And nope, it was Revan type shit. That was just the game back then, right? It was like, you're literally guessing, and well, you guessed wrong. And so now this is basically CG saying, hey, this is where we're going. you have a pretty good idea that this is probably going to result in something. We're going to continue to try to incentivize new content to like make it more appealing to you, because especially when you talk about early mid-game players, characters being accelerated and relatively easier to get, I think they were probably running into some sort of pressure where it's like a lot of new players look at new content and they're like, well, this doesn't really make sense for me. I'll play with that maybe never, or maybe years down the road type shit, where like
it's very transparent, very respectful, and to what Sasha was saying earlier, like the feeling of long-term investment, them continuing to put more effort into the bones of the game and into the systems of the game. Very encouraging stuff.
You don't do this if you're hesitating.
Yeah, like, because I saw some people that I really strongly disagree with on Reddit saying something like, they're only making moves like this as a desperate last-minute cash grab. It's like, that is absolutely not what this is. You do not put the type of man-hours into what was done here for that type of ambition.
You push the monetization button, and then it just shows up in-game, and that work just gets done automatically. It's crazy.
What were you saying, Sasha?
Yeah, well, I was just going to... I that's part of my optimism and positive perspective on this, is this was not a redlining dynamic. This was not them just...
You're breaking up a bit, just so you know, buddy.
Sorry, I'm in transit, so hopefully this will be okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're straightening up a bit. Yep.
Yeah, and part of the optimism I have here is, like, we love to play this PvP element. This is primarily a GAC focused show. That this sign of life that this represented to me makes me feel like, whether it's GAC as we know it or something, but that there's more evolution to come, more investment and attention into the mode that I really enjoy. So I'm hoping that is like indicative of like some opportunity there. And the other thing that I'll add is, like, I'm a little bummed at the volume of new characters coming out. I feel like that's more than I was hoping to see. I greatly appreciate the transparency, and I feel quite good about like the intelligence behind the kit and team designs generally that this game has put out. Like, I just feel like put whatever skins on them you want. I happen to not be particularly excited to get another Bad Batch squad, but so be it. But what they roll out, I have just found has been innovative and like interacts with the huge, complicated existing game pretty well. There's just there was reason for optimism. That's kind of where I came out.
Here.
Oh, and just to piggyback off what everyone has kind of said, what the three of you have all kind of said, as someone who has put a fair amount of years into this field, when you feel like you are going downhill, the response is not to make the thing cheaper.
No.
Right? The response is to release our 9-packs 3x times 50 for one relic ability, one relic level. Right? That's what you do when you're trying to like milk money. Like, this change is absolutely going to make them money, but it's not going to move their bottom line. So, like, the people who, like you said, Tash, who are negative on it because they think it means doom and gloom, it's like, this isn't moving their bottom line. Like, this is actively going to be hurting their bottom line.
You don't reinvest in a game that is sunsetting. You don't ever see a company that has built a PC client. You don't see a thing that's like, here, we're going to quit the game, but here, let's make this huge improvement to AI, and let's make a huge improvement to the back-end system, and the huge improvement. And we're also going to set up a quality of life update for you that's going to have 17 different things that are doing all this. Oh, we're trying to think of the player. They don't care. Any game who has ever sunsetted is, how can I make more money before I get out? That is, you don't get a long drawn out. And also, I just want to know, it was cool to see Crumb as one of the producers. I don't know if anybody caught that, but Crumb, our longtime guy who did communication, is actually the one who helped write out that long, drawn out, very eloquent information, and it was based on him. So it's like, you don't do that. Any game that's going away. That's what I'm saying. But it's like, and Meathead too, right? They're not. Why would Meathead come out and try to get information, try to get feedback? They don't do that. They don't care. They've got your last dollar. we're done. And here they're talking about, no, here's our structure now, people, and here's your time frame, what you get to expect. By the way, we're quitting tomorrow. No,
Very good.
It just inconceivable.
Also, for those of you who think that we are, I've been called a CG show many times, but like I have been mostly negative towards CG on this show, much to the chagrin of many people. But it's one of those things where I think it's worth giving it a few minutes to talk about the positives as well, because we are normally like, what is this bespoke Datacron bullshit, right? You know, like there's so many negative things that have happened over the last like year in this game, and by negative I mean like we have voiced frustration for it, etc. Right?
I think negative is the correct word. Bespoke Datacrons are just straight up anti-competitive.
They are,
Especially
with the stat variants.
Yes, that too. But I'm just saying I'm very pleased that there is positivity to talk about, because I feel like the only times we talk about CG is when they fuck up.
Fair.
So.
Here. All right, guys, I want to wrap us up relatively soon here because I don't want to keep you too terribly long. So I know before we get on out of here and we do the takeaways, we wanted to just briefly mention, for those who did wail out for Hu Yang, or however well you have your Hu Yang, any plans for Hu Yang this week?
Nope.
Okay, thank you, Dagger. Appreciate your contribution.
Yeah, not really. I mean, you know, obviously there's a Sorticron going on right now. Hu Yang's numbers are just like a little bit lower than I was hoping. That I don't think he's like the droid savior. Attacker. Like his numbers are very respectable, but they're not like I need to see this in action ASAP level.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, Sasha, I can hear your mic's open. What's up?
Yeah, you know, not that's formulated yet. I mean, I was looking at the same stuff. To do the opportunity costing Ezra over and running Spectre Comp. Can you hear me?
You're Sorry, coming and going. You're coming and going, but something to do with the Spectre Comp. So you're okay.
Well, the opportunity cost of pulling Ezra away from Rey just feels prohibitive. So I'm not sure. Not for this week, but I'm excited for that Spectre Comp, and maybe slightly terrified of Galactic Legend Ahsoka in that squad. So that's where I'm at the moment.
Very good.
I like what they've done for each character right now, which is cool to see, knowing that Ahsoka is going to take time. I think Hu Yang's got legs in the Sorty Nuke. I feel like that's a good, strong possibility. Not necessarily, maybe something to catch you off guard. Or something
you
else
want to believe, because we've long had the elements of a purely light side droid team that might be, it's almost kicking.
We need T3's Omi to work in GAC.
That would be dope. That would be incredible.
That would be really good.
I would really like that.
That would be really good.
That's what that needs. That team needs an Omicron to be relevant.
Yeah. A GAC one would be great. So I agree. T3 in there would be like make that short. Yeah. But it's cool. They've tried to do good things with this character, knowing that Ahsoka was on a longer haul, right? We would have talked about Ezra at length. But they try to give Mando ties to what we'll see, well, if Ahsoka's not out, well, we can put Sabine with BKM and 5s. She's got legs there. Sorty Nuke, here's another tool for your Sorty Nuke for your droids, because it gives a call out that way. So it's fun to see, man. I still like what they're doing with the setup, and we faced Ahsoka with just Sabine in the Balin event, right? And that already had some power behind it. So giving it the tweaks, I am way, way excited for what Ahsoka might bring. The power there was crazy good, and what it could just delete.
Okay. So. All right. Okay. Yeah, I don't really have any big plans for Hu Yang either. I'm not that pressed. You're thinking that maybe some adventurous folks might do Rey, Hu Yang, Ezra, and then do something like an RJT team with Old Ben and something like that, a split of that kind, for the very few who have went so far.
That sounds awful.
That does sound awful, but it does sound like something you got to try what's new if you're going to go to that length. There's really only a handful of people in the game that are going to do it, but you got to wonder. All right, guys. Takeaways and final thoughts. We're wrapping up week 2 here. Certainly, with all the time we spent talking about Ray Ezra, that was the defining match, compared to what we learned already from week 1. But yeah, the offensive application for Balin being kind of a cheat code against that team, unless you mod specifically against it, as Fatal was saying, is new information, because I think that was one of the struggles that we are coming out of in week 1, was talking about, okay, so maybe Balin doesn't look like the most impressive defense. Well, where is he really good on offense? Maybe your opponents are not usually setting their JMK, which you could, otherwise probably pretty easily stomp on, but that was exciting to see. All right, Dagger, kick us off. Your takeaways and final thoughts.
Bring me 5v5, damn it.
So that you can continue to do one fight a match.
Right.
It was very good.
To do nothing.
No, I've been clearing their board. Eat shit.
Okay, very good.
I actually, you can go through my history. I lost a fight last week. I forget what I even tried to do. I tried to solo.
What's cool is, it's
Shameful.
a fight. It's singular and it's no.
Purge him from the guild. There can be no peace.
No, I just mean the new characters coming out, I expect Ahsoka to come out during the next 5v5. So I am not trying to fast forward too many weeks. I'm just saying she's going to be here the first week of December, and I'm looking forward to that.
Dig it. Fair enough. TJ, how about you? Your takeaways, final thoughts going into week 3.
I don't take away from Fatal, and I love it, but I want and I question if there's any room for the JML Ezra. And the surprise that I still think that he elevates so many teams, and there is a Datacron out that says Jedi Stun. That would just be super gross if you're giving everything foresight and everything else. So it's I don't discount the setup and the easy call out of putting her with Rey, but I just he's got so many pieces. So the Ezra feels like a big question mark.
All right, fair enough. Sasha, how about you? Your final thoughts, lessons learned, things you're excited for week 3.
I'll just say, in the group that I've been battling in GAC, it's good to see less Erodiums in it than there had been before. I think we had 6 legit accounts and only 2 Erodiums. So if that leak has been fixed and there are less Erodiums dropping through, that's great, because it just means more matches and more fun. So that feels pretty good, and feels like the Erodiums are sort of drifting down. So that changes my weekly experience, and I'm pleased with it. That's it.
Good stuff, man. All right, and Fatal, how about you? Your takeaways, final thoughts.
The season, I think, it has just been a really, really enjoyable one. Obviously, it's easier for me to say my defense is blowing up and it's giving me full budgets to just do whatever I want on offense and get away with it. But yeah, just really enjoying the bejesus out of it before we head to 5s. But I think if there's anything I'll shout out right now, I think more and more, I joke about this year is the year of crit chance, or whatever it makes sense for said characters at said time. But I think Ezra and Ray Ezra this week specifically, because again, to be clear, Ray Ezra is counterable, and their fate will be to not be worth it. That I do expect that Ezra will go other places. Even if Ahsoka doesn't have a strong claim to Ezra, I don't think Ray Ezra will be the final home. Unless you're a mid game player, and then you probably still post it because you farm people. But I think this year has been one of the most rewarding years for being really, really picky on mods that you keep and specializing the crap out of them. That all I really did to prep for Ezra was just start slicing the crap out of, defense mods with good speed and percent defense rolls or whatever. And that prep put me in position that, I did see that some people were succeeding with stuff like SK Malicos or whatever, but I pursued acidic preparation with mods and then gave him a defense Datacron, and that was enough to just turn a lot of stuff off, even with Array and Ben that were not all that impressive. I think if you're willing to do the elbow grease on the mod side of things and really just lean in, like this year has kind of been a min-maxer's paradise.
Very fair.
Kind of to echo earlier, the designers. I would say that the designers have never really stopped cooking for this game, but I think this year they have really kind of reached an interesting level of complexity where the kits aren't crazy complex, but there's just so much room to like. You see a stat or a line of text, and you can just like hook on that and make a build around it.
Mm-hmm.
And those builds have just like overperformed in every way. Yeah.
Now I think you said it best earlier. The notion that over the years we've had kits of increasing complexity, but this year you've had several teams. Your Queen Amidala, your Gungans, where to have a full understanding of a character you can't without considering the rest of its locked teammates. And it does. It's created them. It's created for them design space, right? I think it is. I think it does all bode very well. So anyway, sorry. Whatever else you had to say.
No, that's pretty much it. Just if you're willing to do the research and the prep work on the mod side, I mean.
I'm also going to give Fatal. Fatal gets another title. We'll toss him into another one. He's the Conquest character guy. Because he's done it with Luthen. He's now doing it with Ezra. So it's calling it now. If you need a Conquest character guy, go talk to Fatal. He's your dude. So he's the nicester dude, the Sith dude, and now the Conquest character dude.
Mm-hmm.
I go where the good words go. That my allegiance is to. I came up with this last night. It's dumb as fuck, but I call them GACs, good ass characters.
All right.
I told you it was bad. I told you it was bad.
Look, Fatal. They are going to talk a lot of shit about that. I think it's fantastic, and you have nothing to feel bad about.
All right, now you see. All right, well let that be known to you, Fatal. That's the level of humor you have stooped to, such that Dagger's like, no, that checks out. I found that funny.
No, he's a dad. He's a cat dad. No. Don't take this shit away from him. He's a cat dad.
Cat dad jokes. Got it.
Confirmed. All right. Well, Fatal. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I only invest in GAC Omicrons. What can I say?
I see what you did there.
Anyway.
All right, before I go ahead and close this out here, where can the good folks find you, Fatal?
Twitch.tv/PlaybookTV, and I did see some confusion, so I'm gonna clear the air. I am working on channel stuff. I cannot promise that you'll see it shortly because I saw some confusion about that. Mm-hmm. The project that I'm working on is very fucking big, and I'm busting my ass off. It's been a lot of hours, but I'm very fulfilled. It'll be here when it's ready. Mm-hmm. And you'll know it when you see it, but it's cooking.
Not trying to push you for any type of promise date. You think before or after New Year?
For the current scope and scale, after New Year.
Okay,
that's fine. It would be cool if I could coincide with New Year. But yeah, just the volume of work I got to knock out.
No, it sounds like you're in the weeds with it, so that's why I asked. Yeah, all right. Well, we'll look forward to that. That'll be a treat in the new year. Okay. As far as me goes, yeah, I mean, I gave those comments before, as far as myself goes, as far as me goes, that was terrible. But yeah, before Dagger sounded off, I had a few thoughts, and then, I mean, just specifically thinking about week 3, I'm thinking about other applications of Starkiller. I'm thinking about defensive applications of Starkiller. Historically, it's kind of been only occasionally good, depending on the Datacron meta, and then generally fairly poor. But I think this, Starkiller Datacron offers a unique opportunity to be super powerful on defense. So I'm thinking that's the way this week, since I'm not really wanting to rely on EP Marajade Starkiller. The results were too mixed. So that's my thought. Okay, so other than that, yeah, if you're used to catching me, then you know where to find me is twitch.tv/Tassinix. That is where I stream live. I do upload my VODs with chapters added for easy browsing to my YouTube, Tassinix Gaming. I also have some other Swiggle-related content that you'd be very interested to see out there. Got my Datacron set guides, currently on sets 17 and 18. I make those with Aesop Rock, top player in the game. Great to have his information in there. We've got the mod guide videos on characters and factions that you have requested, so that's an ongoing series. We've got my most recent specialty video. We've got that tier list for GAC Omicrons. Really appreciate you guys blowing that one up. Thank you. And let's see. I think that's it there. But of course, the Plotting and Scheming podcast is up there as well on YouTube, but it is hosted here on Spotify, out on Google Podcasts. You can take the RSS feed link that's in every episode to plug it into whatever your preferred podcast program is, Apple Podcasts, what have you. It's pretty interesting to see how you guys like to listen to the show, and we have a growing audience for the podcast, but not on Spotify. It's like on Spotify, but more off Spotify. It's kind of interesting. Anyways, yes, so that's all there with the YouTube. And, of course, if you like the cut of my jib, you like the channel, you like the show, and you want to support what we're doing here, I've got Cash App at your request. I've made one is $Tassinix. And, of course, if you want to get something back, help raise your scouting game, get some benefits, join my community, check out my Patreon. Of course, I have the wrong slide up, but we'll get to the right one first. Check out patreon.com/Tassinix for any upwardly mobile Grand Arena player. There is something there of interest for you. $5 a month gets you into the TAS House at VIP access, where you get early access to the Plotting and Scheming podcast, which is generally coming out Friday mornings. My patrons are getting it Tuesday night, depending on how quickly YouTube is about uploading. But yeah, usually within hours of recording. You also get early access to the Datacron set videos and, of course, a dedicated text and voice channel on Discord where you can usually find me lurking. Pop on in and say hi. Thank you so much to Andrew, Arj, Deadpool Kyle 28, JJ's Productions, Jobin4527, Johnny B. Ottawa, Miasmo, Ray's Malbus, Sam Vimes, Squed, Stark Strategy Gamer, Sweens 14, White Wolf, and Zoltre. Moving up to the $10 a month tier, VIP Access Plus. This is a Patreon bundle for myself and for OmegaBot. So if you watch for any of my streams at the start, I'll pull one of these reports on my opponent. And OmegaBot offers you, better than anything else, an at-a-glance understanding of your opponent's offensive and defensive tendencies. But with the boost from the Patreon, you can pull greater than just the last 2 weeks of history, as well as get a downloadable HTML report with link integrations right into swugga.gg or, Insight if you have it. But fantastic tool. Thank you so much to Stryker, Esh Sotnikam, and Dobby for taking that offer. VIP Access Premium is $15 a month for the DoubleBot bundle. So, Patreon access to me, to OmegaBot, and to Hot Utils, the #1 tool for your mass mod management and loadout configurations. A couple clicks can get you easily set up between TB, TW, Raid, Grand Arena. Just saves you a ton of time. Can also help you with your Grand Arena scouting, and if you and your guild are starting to get competitive, lots of helpful tools for TW. But thank you so much to Duckstab, Dark Hug, Ivanek, General Milan, Sir Boss, Quig, Wilco, and Frick Frack Paddywhack. Got it right. At the top of the list, the one, the only Nomad's Reaper in Jester's Club Elite. This is, without exception, my most generous supporter over the years. This guy will pop in from time to time on streams and drop hundreds of subs, thousands of biddies, incredible support. Thank you so much, man. And of course, last but never least, our special thanks. First, to Yoda Force, one of my original supporters from way back in the day. Bought me the mic that I'm speaking to you on right now, and even though he has long since quit the game, we wish him well from the other side. To Mrs. T, my wife, thank you so much for all of your work in the background, keeping our daughter from utterly destroying our home while I'm trying to be halfway decent at a phone game. And of course, to Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal, my co-hosts here on Plotting and Scheming. It's a fun time every week recording our show. It really is a pleasure and a privilege, gentlemen, and we're learning from each other. I've already got a couple new ideas that I didn't already have coming into this conversation. I know our viewers feel the same. We're each bringing a delightful flavor to this recipe. Wouldn't change a thing. Thank you guys so much. All right.
Your co-hosts, I would like to thank everyone for watching Tess's Penis.
You satisfied with yourself? You happy?
Only if it makes the YouTube video.
No, it's making the video, buddy, and it's just me staring at the camera, staring at you. That's just for you.
Yes,
right.
I am proud of myself. Thank you. I am 12.
Fantastic. All right. Well, anyways, guys, good luck in all of your preparations here for week 3, and looking forward to wrapping up the season next week. Until next time, it's been real. It's been awesome. It's been real awesome. Take care.